All right, working on some of these videos that I'm behind on. So this video is video from the track. I went to the track for a TRC invitational, like a little thing that they put on where, same thing I did when I did that other roll racing event. This was the same idea. They're doing some dig racing and some roll racing. Last time I did the roll racing first and then I broke on the dig racing. This time I did the dig racing first. So went out to the track, did some dig racing, and first pass I went, I think I went 10.7. I got it right here actually. I went 10.7 at 135. I missed fourth gear, which you'll see in the video. Car went 1.73 to the 60 foot, so okay, 60 foot. That's basically what I did when I went 10.50. You know, even with missing fourth gear, the car still had a good amount of mile an hour, and it still went 10.7. So I knew if I caught that gear, I was going to be a good pass. Car felt strong. This was on my new wheels, or at least my new front wheels. I think I didn't have my rears on. I think I just had the fronts on. The 23-inch VMS wheels with the 23-inch M&H slicks. I shook the tires a bit on that one, so it wasn't a great 60, but it still did, you know, what I was doing before on the 22s. When I was getting a good 60 out of those, you know, I would get like a 171 to a 173, basically was a good 60 on those wheels. So anyway, went 10.7 at 135. So that was the first pass. So I knew that it was going to be a good pass. And then if you follow me on Instagram, you probably already saw it. But the next pass I went up. It was a pretty good pass. I did get limiter a little bit in third, between third and fourth. So it could have been a little bit better, but overall pretty clean pass. Car went 1.63 to the 60 foot. So it went a tenth faster than the previous one. It was a real smooth 60 foot. So that's my best 60 foot by 8 tenths. So that was a big improvement on the new wheels. Went 6.7 to the 8th at 109, and went 10.28 at 140.94. So basically 10.28 at 141. Again, a nice pass. Felt really good. That was at about 31 PSI still, which is where I made that 514, 356 or whatever I made on the dyno. That was at that power. But in the morning, I had made a timing change, a mechanical timing change. I went and put, what I put in, I think 1 degree of, 1 or 2, I think it's 2 degrees. 2 degrees of mechanical timing on the cam gear. I adjusted it back. I had taken it out when I first put the motor together and I hadn't put it back in yet, just so it was nice and safe. So I made the change in the morning and then drove out to the track. And I was making test hits the whole way to the track. But when I got there, I realized that I didn't reset my base timing in the computer. Meaning I didn't use a test light or a timing light and set the base timing. I have to lock the timing in the computer, then reset my timing on the distributor where it needs to be. And I didn't do that. So I knew my timing was off. I wasn't sure how much, but I knew it was off. And actually when I got to the track and it was idling, I felt like I'd already heard it just a little bit. I probably made like 5 good pulls on the way to the track, logging and making some adjustments while I was driving, because it's about a 40-minute drive. And I got there. It seemed like maybe I heard it a little bit. Wasn't sure, but I decided to go anyway. I didn't really care, honestly, at that point. I was there. Car was feeling good. I was just going to send it. So I did. I made that 10.7 pass. Then I went and made the 10.28 pass. When I was coming back on the return road on the 10.28 pass, I could tell that the motor had a bunch of blow by. When I'd get on the gas a little bit, where my catch can is, it was pushing out. I was getting a little bit of smoke out of the catch can where it was pushing out, and I could see it coming out of the hood. So I knew that it had a good amount of blow by. So I knew I'd probably heard it on that pass a little bit, but again, I was already there, didn't care. was really chasing a 9-second pass on that setup, so I turned it up a little bit from 31 to about 35 psi. Should make somewhere in the 550 range, and made another pass. Well, I tried to make another pass. The next pass that I made, it bogged, and I just rolled through, and I just drove to the end and came back around and just got right back in line. Then I made another pass. I didn't get the slip to see what the rest of it looked like, but I think I bogged again, because at that point it was struggling to come up on two-step real good. I think just because it was hurt. I think it bogged again, and I just kept going. And the top of third gear, it melted the piston, melted cylinder 3. So anyway, I brought it back to the house, and I fixed it. So I pulled it apart, and I got a couple pictures for you. I pulled it apart, pushed the piston to the bottom of the cylinder, cleaned it up, scraped the aluminum off the side of the wall, and then I cleaned up the cylinder wall. Actually got a little pit in it. I actually welded the cylinder wall, ground it back down, honed the crap out of the cylinder, and put it back together. After I put it back together, it was running good. When I cold started it, it made a bunch of noise, kind of like a piston slap. It had a lot of piston slap, and I just figured, okay, it's got piston slap because I just honed the cylinder so much, because I honed it a lot. So that particular piston was going to be a little sloppy in the cylinder, especially when it was cold. Once it warmed up, it went away. It was fine. I went out and made a test hit by the house. I turned it up to about 40 psi, which I never do. I just wanted to see if it was going to hold. It did fine. I drove it. I did 40 psi. Did a full, second through the top of fourth. It held fine. It felt really good. It actually started to spin fourth gear a little bit, which it never does. 40 psi, the car probably making 600. So anyway, it felt good. I went out and did some racing on the street still a little bit. I actually went and did another roll racing event. I got one qualifying pass in, and then it got rained out, so then drove it back home. There just hasn't been a lot of like good content besides, this was decent, but I just hadn't put the video together. So anyway, that's what happened. It was fine. And then actually I just recently heard it again, but I'm going to make another video with the teardown of the video and show you what it did. But for now, here's this video. Here's the new personal best on the car. And I'm going to try to get this other video put together here in the next couple of days. I haven't started pulling it apart yet, so I'm going to pull it apart, kind of bring you guys along for the ride, see what happened. And I am putting together another motor. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen that. But we'll have some parts in this thing that are still going to be good, but it's fine. I already have this other motor, and I'm ready to put it together anyway. So we'll talk more about that in the next video. But for now, this is it. Enjoy, and we'll see you on the next one. transmission. This last video that I put up with the transmission, the night before I went to this event and ran this 1028, I was out doing my normal thing, out doing some street stuff, having some fun, making some test hits, and on the way home I got real close to the house, and the transmission started making some noises again after I just fixed this bearing. Basically the same noises that I've heard before, which was a bearing failure. So I got home, I pulled it out, and I had to go to the track in the morning. I had to be there early. I had to be there like 7 o'clock or something like that. I got home at 8 o'clock or something like that after driving around. 9 o'clock, I think it was 9 o'clock. Pulled the transmission out real quick. Pulled it apart, and bearing had come apart again. These were good bearings, everything was fine. So I think the shaft is bent. I'm not really sure how or why, but maybe when it broke one of the times and it bound up, it bent the shaft. I'm not really sure. So I pulled my good gears off of that transmission, and I had another completely stock D16 Z6 transmission. So I pulled it over, and it was good. So I pulled it out of the shed. I put my good gears in it, put it all back together, slapped it back in the car, and then went to the track in the morning. And that's kind of why I made the mechanical timing change and then left. I was pretty tired, I guess, at that point. That's why I forgot to do the timing, set the timing late, because I just was trying to get things going. I was kind of rushing out and just completely forgot about it. But anyway, so I put it back together with a stock diff in it because I hated the welded diff. The welded diff was genuinely terrible to drive around with in the front wheel drive. It was really bad. It didn't really feel any different at all traction wise. Like I've said before, the car spins both tires on the street. It never pulls one way or the other, because of the diff, open diff or anything like that. If you follow me while I'm making a hit, I'm leaving 2 lines on the ground. Like it always, goes straight and spins both tires. So that's why I've never done an LSD, because it's never given me a reason to. I just wanted to, tell you guys that it was on an open diff, this 1020 pass, and the 163 60 foot. This was on a stock D series differential.